Welcome back to Azorath Plays KSP, continuing the Saturn V Wannabe.
I think what I'm going to do is continue building and then fix the issue of the lack of thrust after that. I'm just so happy about that fairing. Look at that. Thank you, squad, so much for giving us that fairing. That's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Right. So now the hard part. This next bit in here needs to include the lander, and above it the third stage for orbital injection and command. I think I'm going to skip the lander for now and just see if I can get everything else staged on top. Then I can come back and insert the lander after that. Easy peasy. And you don't need to see me do all this in real time, so we'll skip ahead. Basically, we're putting on a command module and a fuel tank, a bit of an engine, of course, separator, the basic stuff you need in order to get to the moon. It doesn't have to be very big, because once you've made it to space, the amount of delta V you need to get anywhere else is actually considerably lower than anything you've used before. So in the real Saturn V, this would have a lander beneath it. I'm skipping that, as I said. Put on a drogue chute, a couple of normal chutes. This is going to be way overpowered when it comes to chutes, but that's alright, it'll mean it survive. And then we'll attach to the bottom. Now I know I'm missing a tier from what the Saturn V had. It had another tier on there that pointed in. I'm going to have to think about how we replicate that with the size of parts we have later. But for now, I think that's looking pretty damn good. I'm kind of happy with that. Get all my staging right. And away we go. Our Saturn V replica is almost complete. Look at that, she's looking quite good, I think. I'm quite happy with that. So Jeb, Valentina and Bill are going up in this test run. This is a test to see if we can get into orbit and then return safely to Earth. She doesn't have a lander attached, obviously. She is still short compared to the real one. The Kerbal is only half the delta V to orbit. So there you go. Right, are you guys ready? Now this is either going to be an exceptionally good test or a complete disaster. Let's see what happens. Throttle up. Go! And we're off! I think that launch is looking pretty good. Now obviously I'm recording this in voiceover after the fact, because the original voiceover work was all consumed with, oh my god, she's flying. Thrust to weight ratio is looking pretty good. I want to keep that relatively low compared to what she'll give me. Even with the weight on top, I know that she'll hit 1.8 and then go up from there, but I want to keep it around the 1.5 to 1.7 mark. And as you can see, we're just starting to tilt over now because I want to make this launch a bit more efficient than has been done in the past with the first attempt at this. Unfortunately, as you're about to see, it isn't that efficient, but I have a ton of fuel on board, so it doesn't really matter. Efficiency goes out the window when you're just swimming in resources, and that's what happens when you carry the large parts. So at the moment, we're looking good, and we're on our way up. We're going to be hitting 10,000 meters soon, and at that point I can start to get more aggressive with my turn. I should be. I don't think I actually do, but these are the things we'll line out next time. But as launch tests go, with a command capsule on top, this is looking pretty good. I'm pretty proud of my efforts here. Up she goes. We're starting the tilt. We're getting a good view of the Earth here. 15,000, a long way to go to space, but fuel is about to come out of this first stage, so we're about ready to stage. Getting ready. Astronaut's looking pretty good. Jeb is happy as a clam. Look at him. Valentina. Wow, she couldn't be happier, could she? Engine off. Stage. Stage. And we're going! Look at that beautiful stage. That sure is beautiful, old me. Well done. Now, the one problem we've got, of course, is that this launch hasn't been exceptionally efficient. I mean, look at our angle. We're 40,000 meters up, and we're only just past 45 degrees. So we're going to be hitting space quite steep and not at all circularized. So we're going to spend a lot of fuel circularizing the orbit. I have that fuel, so that's fine. But in a real launch, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to be carrying a lot more weight with that lander on board, and an inefficient launch like this is going to leave me a tad short, perhaps on resources. But for this one we're doing right, so we're learning some things. We're flattening out our trajectory now, but it's a bit late. But we're just passing 60,000 meters and we're relatively flat. I do love the engine cluster on this particular stage. I think it's looking very nice. So I'm going to take that as a victory, if nothing else. And we're continuing our ascent here, all the way to space. Space! Going to space! A long way to go. Look at that circularization figure in the top left-hand corner. It's not exactly perfect, but here we are. We've crossed the imaginary Kármán line in the Kerbal Space Program, and we are on our way to space. Okay, so that's 100 kilometer apoapse. Not an exceptionally efficient launch, but we have more than enough fuel to circularize and see what she can do. I'm really in love with this engine cluster. That is a sexy, sexy engine cluster. Take us forward a little bit until we're about 30 seconds from apoapse. Numbers is good. 90 by 110. That's an acceptable orbit. And there you go. So this launch vehicle can get us into orbit quite easily without any of the other weight in it. There's the moon. This is not designed to be a moon mission. Question is, with all this fuel on board, do we just ditch the stage and make it a moon mission? In the real test, that stage would have gone. She's still got fuel left in her. A few hundred units. She's not going to get us very far. I could stage off and then take this little can around to the moon to see what would happen. So we are going to do that. So I'm very conscious that we have no electricity on this thing because I didn't pack batteries.
Yes, but too late to worry about that now, original me. So let's skip ahead to when we actually get going.
Now I'm going to stage this off. And I'm going to get the can to point to the node. Thank you. Look at our beautiful stage float away there. Get the node in around 30 seconds. Bye, stage. And a 15-second burn. Crap, went past it. Wow, okay, that's something new I've never seen from a fuel engine before. I've never seen the nozzle do that before. I'm picking there's some gimbal in this engine. Jib's been told to hold it on the node. Oh well. 100 meters to burn. It's going to get us within 18 kilometers of the moon's surface. That is good.
Right, and with our node set up, we can now skip ahead through the magic of editing all the way to the moon. Ta-da! And we'll come into the moon here. The aim is to be captured in a nice steady orbit, and then after an orbit, fly home again. But I'm about to learn that alarm clock doesn't always go off when you want it to. More's the pity.
And I do so like it when the alarm clock stops you. 22 by 13, that's not bad. And here we are, we have captured inside lunar orbit. Why didn't the alarm clock stop me? No alarm didn't list. Well, things have gone quite swimmingly on our test to date. This is what I think Apollo, well, this is certainly what Apollo 10 did. I mean, this is what Apollo 8 did first up. Apollo 8 was the first mission to ever reach the moon and go into an orbit around it. They did several orbits. I'd say this is looking pretty good so far. Valentina, do you want to see what you can see? No point doing an EVA report. Well, that sounds nice. So having successfully tested that we can get to the moon, we now need to... Our orbit's quite a climb actually. Anyway, we now need to successfully see that we can get back to the moon. Ooh, what the hell? 37, that'll be perfect. Now, did my alarm clock tick? Yes, thank you. As we cross around the dark side of the moon. There you go, watch the moon and Earthrise. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Go to SAS until Jeb. I'm picking he's in the pilot seat. Oh, and it looks like Bill and Valentina in the pilot seat. I wish I knew what determines who sits in what seat. I do so love looking at the interior. And we're coming up on time to burn. in 12 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Initiating burn. Actually, no way the engine is crazy like that. Checking our map. Four, 3, 2, 1. Bingo! Now we leave the moon, being successfully captured and orbited, and still with 700 meters per second in our tank, so that's good. Let's hope that that represents what pushing the rover would be, pushing the lander would be. Bye-bye, moon. We're going to come within 1,000,000 kilometers. Okay, 400 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers up. Is it 400? Yeah, we're just 400 kilometers up. 400 kilometers up now. We'll have to get ready to do our separation, which I will do at the 100k mark. Okay, back in real speed now. We'll need to turn the capsule to retrograde. Jib, if you'd be so kind as to do the honours. Staged successfully, thank you very much. I'll get Jib to hold this position on the retrograde marker. I have a drogue chute out front. Altitude to deploy is at 2500. I have these nice chutes. I deploy it at 1000. Oh look, unsafe. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's handy. And we've crossed into the upper atmosphere now.
And we're about to learn why it's important to make sure that when you come back into Kerbal you hit the right altitude, or else you do this.
I'd like to keep an eye on that. What's going ahead of me? And we're picking up some heat. And we'll be coming in hot and fast, of course. Oh, look at the flames engulfing that stage. I want you to explode. Why aren't you exploding? Look at our ablator. Our ablator is starting to burn off. This is why we have a heat shield. Stage is coming in just as hot as we are, and she's not being destroyed. I wonder if it's because she's not being controlled. Our head shield is actually lasting quite well. We're looking at our apparatus fall now, 2.5 millimeters. Troop 1 millimeters, 2 millimeters rather. Come on, what you doing? The blade is burning down. And we're now on the way up. But we are well and truly captured, as our apparatus height is now across the millimeter mark. So, note to self, 33,000 just skims across the atmosphere like a stone. We're still losing a blader. We have no electrical charge. This is problematic. Apoapsis height is 650,000 meters and climbing. Bladed down to 711. We're spending a long time burning through the atmosphere. What the height to lose? Apoapsis is approaching 500,000. That hit 40,000, and that's going to mean we're going to bounce out. So I should have hit the atmosphere lower. Burned off a fair amount of ablation and we slowed down a lot, but we're still going to be bouncing back up and around. Meanwhile, our engine cluster looks like it might have survived 8 kilometers below us. So as we start to climb out of the atmosphere, we're still going to come back up to 400,000 kilometers. Oh, that heat shield looks like it got nice and toasty.
Yes, it used to be easier when the atmosphere was thinner in previous versions, I think. But let's skip ahead to when we've come up and we're on the way back down.
And unlike last time, this time it's going to have no choice. It's going to be error captured as we see heat building up again. At 40,000 meters. Now we're just reliant on the aerodynamic properties of the capsule for capture, but this is what Apollo 11 would have been too. They would have been reliant on the aerodynamic properties. In fact, I understand it was because of a small design flaw with the shield that meant that the angle they had to hit the atmosphere was very precise. Because otherwise they would have either bounced out or just burned up. A better design would have fixed that. And thus we have the similar issue. Okay, here we are in capture. This time we're going to be getting caught. Apoapsis is already down to 300. Looks like we're going to be landing in the mountains. Can the shield survive double heating? That's the question. I'm sure it will. There we go. The camera tells you that we've effectively resolved our problems of last time. Apoapsis is at 200,000 meters and falling. It is unsafe to deploy chutes. We're going to be hitting 100,000 meters and falling soon. Come on, come on, come on. 100,000 meters and falling. There you go. And 70. So that's confirmed capture when it gets below 70. This has been quite good for testing the heat shield, if nothing else. We are at 29,000 meters. It is not safe to deploy chute. We are rapidly approaching 2 kilometers per second. Okay, now we've moved just below 2 kilometers per second. What this has been quite effective at doing is keeping us as high as possible, as long as possible, and that's allowing us maximum drag with the shield, so we don't hit the ground too hard. 1700 meters per second now. We're still tearing through the skies. As soon as that safe to deploy goes to safe, I'm hitting the drogue chute. 1400 meters per second. We're still flying from the ground, the air, 20 kilometers up. And our ablator is down to 637. I think this is the lowest I've ever had an ablator. Chatter noises. We're just passing a kilometer a second now in speed. Oh, we're practically sedate now. There you go, the heat's gone. Now it's risky. I'm running out of time. Safe. So with it being safe, I'm going to deploy the drogue. Drogues are good like that. She's going to slow us way down. And Peter says it's safe to deploy the other three, so I'm coming down with a lot of shoots. Here you go, now fully deployed. And we're 700 meters from the terrain. Three, 2, 1, and stop. And with that, we have safely returned. We cast off these shackles of the ground, flew all the way to the moon and back, and this is a successful test of our Apollo Saturn V staging. That went quite well. All we've got to do now is master the art of batteries, maybe some more avionics to improve control, and of course that lander. That lander's going to be fun, I think. But we'll do that next time. For now, I've been Azorath, you've been watching Kerbal Space Program. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment, and have a good day.